How I 10x my side hustle in 1 year. I took my business from doing $25,000 in revenue to just shy of $300,000 in 1 year. That's almost a 12x in revenue. And I wanted to share with you 10 lessons from this, and I'm going to break down a little bit of information from each lesson about what I learned and what I'm going to continue to improve upon to hopefully take this to, in 2025, well over $500,000, possibly even closer to 7 figures in revenue. First one, and I think that this is really important for any endeavor that humans go through, but focus on the inputs and divorce yourselves from the outcomes. A lesson that I took from, actually, I used to work in tech sales where I would essentially be a glorified cold caller and a cold emailer. But we had minimum weekly quotas of how much activity we had to do. And that was a guideline for helping us book and close as many deals as possible. Essentially, they wanted us to make a grand total of 500 phone calls every week, which broke down to about 100 a day. And you could break that up however you wanted to. They weren't on you if you didn't make 100 phone calls on Monday. But if you, at the end of the week, you didn't have 500, then they were asking you why you didn't do it. And they did that on purpose because it's almost as consistent as gravity. Once you make that volume of calls, you will, through the law of averages, get and close certain amounts of deals if you are, skilled at what you're doing. And it was always a little frustrating because, and this is something of why you must make that 100 and do that 100, is because on great days, you will show up and, maybe you're 10 calls in and you close your first deal. That's fantastic. And it makes the rest of the 90 seem a lot easier. But if your goal is to set 2 meetings a day and you have to make 100 phone calls, and from those 2 meetings a day, a 2% close rate, which is ideal and what a good seller would do, maybe calls 99 and call 100 are those 1 and 2 deals that you're going to close and set. And that's how you're going to get your 2% a day. But it might be really frustrating. But it didn't always work out quite like that. You might get all of them on Friday. In the first 4 days of making 100 phone calls, you would do nothing. But how I'm relating this to my business, I know I went a little bit of a tangent in there, is posting content and running ads are the ways that I get customers. And ads and Facebook ads and TikTok ads is an absolute volume game. AG1 is a $1.3 billion company, and honestly, I think their product is entirely unremarkable, but they put out so much volume when it comes to affiliates and paid ads that the volume just gets them the customers. So for me, when I was working in my business, it took me well over a year to really learn this and actually implement it into my business, because in 2023 and 2022, I was very, very, very casually posting on TikTok and Instagram that I had the business, what it offered. But then midway through 2023, I started getting a couple sales and it was coming from a specific video. So I just really was like, I think I can do this. Finished off 2023, started 2024 really strong, and just started posting really consistently and improving upon what was working. And that is how I grew my side hustle over 10x. So focus on the inputs and divorce yourself from the outcomes, and I guarantee you, you will see tremendous growth. This actually goes into one of the next points, which is you don't need to have a large following to start a business. And this was some mental block that I always had in the back of my mind. Because if you have 1,000 followers and you start from 0 and you get to 1,000, but all 1,000 people are your customers, you definitely don't need to see these miraculous 100,000, 500,000, 1 million followers on your business page to actually be making a solid amount of money. So focusing on the actual people who follow you and making content for the small niche that you're probably working in is an excellent way to actually cater to the right people and make sure that all the people who actually follow you for a reason, because they're likely a customer, they like your content, or they're going to become a customer. And this is definitely a mental block I had when I was, looking at my first Instagram page and I only had 100 followers and I had no sales. But my 101th follower was my first customer. And then I thought, I guess they didn't need to see 10,000 followers on that page before they actually became a customer. And so I really just started posting, and I found out that it just wasn't necessary to have that big of a following, because people trust you from seeing the video. You put enough information out there, it works. Another one on this is volume is king. I spent about $85,000 on Facebook and TikTok ads in 2024. And I was really just testing for a winner, because when I first started out, I had no sales, and I would run an ad and I would spend $100 on the ad and it would literally do nothing. It would get no sales. And I'm like, wow, I just wasted $100. But you didn't waste $100, because Facebook has so many different metrics to go off of. And if you find metrics that are worth improving upon, that's how you can get ads and learn, okay, well, this ad didn't get any sales, but it had a really, really high click-through rate, which click-through rate just means how many people actually clicked on the ad and went to where your page you were sending them to. So you could say, I didn't do that, but this one had a 4% click-through rate. And it was like, and 4% would be a pretty good click-through rate on a video. You could say, okay, well, this one got 4%. Maybe I need to add a better call to action, or maybe something else about the video wasn't the reason why I didn't get a sale. So you start going through that. And then you can also look at things like cost per click, your CPMs, which is how much per 1,000 views you're paying. marketing, all those little metrics. You can dive in and just constantly try to improve upon one until eventually one of the ads is just going to blow it out of the water. And then once you find that concept that works, double and triple down on it. Just start improving upon that, improving on the call to action, improving on the camera quality, improving on the sound, the lighting, etc. Make it more convincing, fix the background. All of these things are little things that are going to help you improve on your product, your video, and get more sales. This is a huge one. Start an email marketing and SMS marketing immediately. Immediately from the first sale you get, start collecting emails and start collecting texts and start collecting phone numbers. HubSpot actually did a study, which is a huge CRM company. It showed that 28% of people's weekly time is spent on organizing, sifting, and deleting emails, which means email is not dead. And another thing to add to that is large e-com businesses usually derive anywhere from 20 to even as high as 50% of their sales from email. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but if you build up a big enough email list, you can just constantly send them informative emails and also send them when you're having a sale, when you're having an update, a new product, etc. And it goes directly to their inbox. They'll click through it. And if they're loyal followers, they usually end up buying, because if you sell something to someone once, you can usually sell something to them again. And even if they just opt into your emails to get the discount code or whatever you're offering them on your website and they don't buy, well, that means they'll come by and buy later, because so many times I look through my analytics and it will only tell me that like I have a 16% opt-in rate, and a few of the sales came from that. And then I'll go look at the last sale from today and it's like, oh, this sale was 22 days to conversion. So they saw the ad, they opted in, and then 22 days later, they ended up buying the product. So just because they don't initially buy, but they opt into your email list and your email list is growing, that is fantastic. Grow that. And if you can get that to 10,000 people, which I know it sounds like a lot, but over a few years, you can build it to 10,000 people, you will never need for another dollar in your life, because you can constantly send emails to that list and you will probably make thousands of dollars per email you're sending. That's kind of more specific to an e-com business, but it can be played for if you are, doing a service-based business. Another thing I would say is make sure that kind of leads to the email opt-in rate is make sure your website conversions are as high as possible. Industry standard is somewhere between 2 and 3%. So if 100 people visit your website, 2 to 3 people are buying your product. If you are way lower than that, less than 1%, it means you probably have, something's wrong with your offer, essentially. So you probably have, it's too expensive, or the checkout's wrong, etc. You can look through all kinds of reasons, and you just want to improve upon that and figure out why you're not getting the optimal conversion rate. If you can get higher than 3%, that's fantastic. But industry standard for most e-com businesses, depending on a few things, is 2 to 3%. And that's what you should strive for. If you're hitting 2%, maybe you want to try to bump it up, but if you're above 3, fantastic, because you should be hitting that number. Because if people clicked on your ad, they went to your website, they were interested, they opted into your email marketing list, they were showing from some interest, but for some reason, they just weren't converting. And that's what you need to drive into. So optimizing your websites for conversion and capitalizing on the traffic that you are getting is really crucial to growing your online business or online service. Next one, number 6, affiliates are really important for spreading trust and connection between you and your audience. So if you can grow your affiliate base, it's one of the best ways to get customers, especially because then you don't have to be the face of the company like I am for my company. We have grown our affiliate base, and TikTok Shop is a great way to do this, but you can also do it for your website with affiliate codes, and there's some tools out there you can look through if you sell an online product like that or service. But affiliates can really help see that other people are actually using the product, especially if they're unpaid affiliates or they're just with commission. And I have so many affiliates now that have reached out to me from my marketing and from actually using and buying the product that they decided to work with me. One of the biggest ones, his name is JJ, and he's a barber, which is fantastic. So he recommends my product to his clients if they're losing hair and they came to him for a cut. But he had a few 100,000 followers, way more than me, and it's been absolutely great. But you also want to make sure that the affiliates you are getting are the right audience for your product. For instance, I sell a hair care product for men to help regrow hair and prevent hair loss. Now, if I got a woman to be an affiliate, that could be beneficial, but I have to look at her audience. Is her audience also all women who are looking for, clothing tips or dining options? Well, then they're not really going to care about my men's hair care product. So you want to make sure that the audience and the affiliates that you're attracting is also an audience that is going to buy your product and be interested in your product or service. And I made that mistake of just kind of spraying and praying and giving bottles to everyone, and Oprah, you get a bottle, you get a bottle. And most of these affiliates were just looking for free things, and their audiences were not at all the audience that I needed to sell to. If they don't have the right audience, definitely make sure that you're catering to it. And I think hand selecting your affiliates or using people who already use a product is a great way to do that. Number 7, take the time to invest in your customers. And that can be just from your organic content, your emails, and answering DMs as fast as possible. So I know it's not actually beneficial for me anymore to really be trying to answer every single comment and answer every single DM when someone asks me a really simple question that I've already answered 100 times in videos and YouTube videos. They could, go to the link in the bio and scroll through a couple pages, look at the pinned video on how to apply the product. It's also written on the bottle, but I still try to answer those questions because it just shows rapport. And a lot of times they'll reply back with like, man, I can't believe you actually saw this message and replied to me. That's so great. I'm going to go buy right now. I can't tell you how many times it's happened. They just like want to reply and then they'll go purchase. And it's like, that only took me 5 minutes of my time. And then they paid $60 for my product. It's like, so that was almost $60 for 5 to 10 minutes of work, which is great ROI. So depending on the product and service you sell, answering and catering to your customers is a fantastic way to help build rapport and really show that you're actual person behind the camera and that you're, here to serve them and help them out as best as possible. Have a high ticket offer to sell and encourages buying your actually expensive thing and maybe the one you actually want them to buy. So when I first started out, I had one option. It was just the Hair Rescue 1 month supply, and then I had it discounted for subscribers. Then I decided to add a 3 month supply with 3 bottles. And I realized that a lot of people are actually buying the 3 month supply, and even first time customers. And especially second-time customers that would come back and buy because it had a significantly discounted, you save about 12%. So it was great for them. But when I built my new website, I added in a 5-bottle option for $240. And I was like, who is buying a $240 of my hair care product for the first-time customer? And I just really didn't think anybody was going to buy it. And turned out a lot of people actually bought it, which was fantastic. But a lot of people started buying the middle product, which is the 3-bottle option, which is $160. And then a lot of first-time customers get a discount. But they were buying that. And it's actually my highest sell-through rate item on my website is the middle option, not the single bottle. So most of the time, people are checking out, buying the $160 3-bottle option. And I think that is because if you have a high ticket offer, it makes your middle offer, the one that you maybe really want them to buy the most, seem less expensive and more of a better value. So always have a super high ticket offer that you of course would love to fulfill if someone, came and just gave you a really crazy amount of money for your thing, which is, if someone buys 5 bottles from me, it's essentially like a 6-month supply. And that's awesome. I mean, I'm so happy that they're buying it and they trust the product and they love it. But I just really didn't think people were going to spend that much money on my products because it's a lot, And so that increased my average order value to over $100 a customer. So anytime I get an order, my average order on the day is $100, which is fantastic. Last point, and this is one that I will kind of wrap it up on, is you don't have to be fancy. Just keep going. And I guarantee you, if you stick with it long enough and you have a decent product with a decent product market fit, it will work and get you to a point where you could even make it a full-time income. I had the idea for this company in 2020 because I was using these products on myself and I was like, it'd just be more convenient to have them both in one product. I made the socials in 2021 and then I started posting videos in 2022 to let people know that I actually had the product. So this is 2 years that I finally made the social media and started posting about it. 2023, I actually started getting a few sales. I think in 2022, I sold 7 bottles. 2023, fast forward, we're like 450 bottles, which is at $25,000. 2024, I sold like 5,000 bottles and we ended up with almost $300,000 in gross sales. And the goal is to do as close to as possible 7 figures this year. And that would be fantastic. But slow growth, don't compare yourself to everybody else. If it grows fast, it's fantastic. But growing a brand online takes time. And I know that I could do it much faster now. So don't let 5 years scare you. If you really devoted yourself and followed steps like these, I guarantee you could get to a full-time income and a full-time job from your side hustle or whatever your passion is. If you're looking to start a business, etc., in a year or less. So it definitely doesn't have to take that long. I had a good job. I made good money and other things that I was doing. This wasn't something that I'm like, I need this to work now. But I was so happy when it got to the point where I was like, this is taking up most of my time. I think if I really doubled down, I could make more money with this and really grow this brand and help more people. And that's one of the things that I did. And it's been really rewarding. It's really cool. Expanded to more products now. And I think 2025, we're just getting warmed up, We're going to keep doing more. So yeah, this is how I was able to 10x my side hustle in 12 months and what I'm going to continue to implement into 2025 and 2026 and hopefully improve upon all of these things. And I hope that this video finds some value to you. Subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Thank you.